Alright, fellow Slayers, time for the final episode review of the day, which is School Hard. Buffy has found herself in Sheila Martini in Principal Snyder's office. He has decided that the two girls will prepare at the school lounge for a parent-teacher night on Thursday, telling them that whoever does the better job will not be expelled. He also notes that doing a good job may affect what he tells their parents towards the positive. Sheila's continuing unconcern puts even more pressure on Buffy, who already has a tough time balancing slaying with social life. Joyce warns Buffy later that if she gets a bad report, then she won't be allowed to spend time with her friends. That night, a new vampire by the name of Spike arrives in Sunnydale, knocking down the city's welcome sign. In the abandoned factory that is now their lair, the Anointed One has called together the few remaining members of the Order of Aurelius. With the Master dead and all hope of resurrecting him gone, they are now discussing who will serve alongside the Anointed One. As the following Saturday night is the night of St. Vigius, when a vampire's power is at its peak, it is agreed that whoever kills the Slayer will take the Master's place. As well, the vampire boasts of his prowess. Spike saunters in and puts him in his place. Spike then offers to kill Buffy for the Anointed One, revealing that he has already killed two Slayers. Suddenly, Drusilla, Spike's paramour who has psychic abilities and is more than a little insane, arrives and begins to babble about what Buffy is doing and begs Spike to kill her. The Anointed One agrees to let Spike try. While the Scoobies are busy preparing for Parents' Night, Giles and Ginny show up to inform Buffy that Saturday will be the night of St. Vigius, named after the leader of a vampire crusade, and that during that night the natural abilities of vampires will be enhanced. Buffy is unimpressed. Buffy tries to combine school and social life by studying French or the Bronze. Spike is there too, and sends one of the Anointed One's minions to attack someone. That prompts Buffy to fight and slay the vampire while Spike watches. Spike then steps out of the shadows and tells her that he will kill her on Saturday. He later bumps into Sheila, who was enthralled by his bad boy charm. Giles does not recognize Spike from Buffy's description. Angel walks in the meeting and tells them that Spike is a large problem, and then leaves. Later, Giles finds a reference to Spike as William the Bloody, and discovers that he has indeed killed two Slayers already, and that the Spike moniker came from his custom of torturing his victims with railroad spikes. Spike and Drusilla settle into their new home, with Drusilla unpacking her collection of dolls. It soon emerges that Drusilla is ill following an altercation with an angry mob in Prague. Spike is hopeful that being so close to Hellmouth will heal her and encourages her to eat something, indicating the bound Sheila. Drusilla warns Spike that the Anointed One, his followers, don't trust him, and sends him up to the surface to feed as she feasts on Sheila. On Thursday night, the Scoobies are making weapons in the library while Buffy is preparing the buffet. Despite Buffy's best efforts to keep her mother Joyce from meeting any teachers or Principal Snyder, Joyce eventually meets the principal. Then she sternly orders Buffy home just as Spike and other vampires crash through the window, to a patient wait for Saturday. In the ensuing fight, Buffy leads the adults to safety in the science room while Xander, Giles, and Miss Calendar barricade themselves in the library. Willow and Cordelia hide in a utility closet. Xander is sent out to get Angel. Buffy takes command of the credulous adults, telling them to stay as she climbs through the air ducts to reach the library and her weapons. Xander returns to the high school with Angel, who pretends to be his former evil self. Though Spike first welcomes Angel as a long-lost friend, he sees through the ruse and Xander and Angel are forced to flee. Xander hears Spike say that Angel was his sire. Buffy and Spike finally meet in the hall, and Buffy's almost bested when her mother shows up and hits Spike over the head with the flat of a fire axe. With the curse, "Women!" he retreats. Joyce tells Buffy that she doesn't care about what Snyder said and is proud to have a daughter who knows how to take care of herself and others in a crisis. Snyder tells the police chief to say that the trouble was caused by a gang on PCP. When the chief wonders if people will believe it, Snyder asks if he'd rather tell the truth. Meanwhile, not knowing that the vampires are long gone, Will and Cordelia are still hiding on the utility closet where Cordelia prays to God to be rescued, while Will is desperate to be rescued from her company. Spike returns to the factory and meets with Drusilla, telling her that he's encountered a Slayer with friends or family, but still promises to kill her soon. He then approaches the Anointed One, who demands penance for attacking too early. After starting to go through the motions, Spike decides that he won't reduce himself to groveling for forgiveness from a kid, and instead throws the boy into a cage and pulls it into the sun, killing him. From now on, he says, there will be less ritual and more fun in Sunnydale. Ooh. So now let's take a look at some continuities surrounding this episode. Spike's rather dramatic arrival in Sunnydale, running over the Welcome Sunnydale sign, is later recreated in Lover's Walk, the only difference him being drunk. He makes the sign fall for one last time in Chosen. When Sheila asks Buffy she really burned down a building one time, Buffy replies, "Not exactly one time," referencing the events of the origin part 3 and some assembly are required. Spike mentions killing Slayer during the Bucks Rebellion, referring to Jin Rong, as seen in the episode Fool for Love, when both times he killed a Slayer are shown. This episode is the first appearance of Spike, who will figure heavily both in this series and the final season of Angel. This episode also marks the first appearance of Drusilla, who was also a recurring thread and influence in both series. Drusilla and Spike being attacked by angry mob in Prague and her weakening is shown in the story The Problem with Vampires. The yo-yo Xander pulls out of Buffy's purse the same one she was playing with in the beginning of Some Assembly Required. In this episode, Cordelia joins the other characters making stakes in the library without any specific backstory as to why she is there, marking her as a full Scooby for the first time. This episode establishes that Spike killed 2 Slayers, an exception among vampires. Later, Drusilla will achieve this test by killing Kendra and Marianne. This is the first episode to reveal that Buffy's mother's name is Joyce Summers. Joyce and Snyder meet for the first time in this episode, developing the mutual disdain into Season 3. Spike calls Angel his sire. In Fool for Love, it's revealed that it was Drusilla who directly sired him, but Angel who would become his mentor, as seen in Destiny. In this episode, Spike seems quite happy to see Angel, although they've had a very rugged relationship even when Angel had no soul. This animosity will remain through both the Buffy and Angel series. Spike tells Buffy that last Slayer he killed big for her life. In the episode Damage, the deranged Slayer, Dana, repeats Nikki's plea. "Please, I have to get home to my son Robin." This episode establishes the principal, Slayer, and police are aware that there are supernatural happenings in Sunnydale. This foreshadows the development of Mayor Richard Wilkins as the big bad of Season 3. Spike plays about a Slayer with family and friends. Buffy's rejection of the typical lone wolf style slaying will come up frequently in the series, usually in the context of people questioning her competence. This episode marks the first time that a vampire, the Anointed One, is killed by immolation in sunlight, though it occurs off-screen. It will occur on-screen for the first time in Becoming Part 1. And now let's take a look at some production notes about this episode. The title and some plot elements of this episode are reminiscent of the action film Die Hard. Show creators have stated in interviews included on the DVDs that Spike kills the Anointed One in this episode because Andrew J. Furchland, who plays the Anointed One, had grown significantly over the summer hiatus, which contradicted the established doctrine that vampires do not age. Because of Furchland's growth spurt, he remained seated for most of his scenes in Season 2. Spike pronounces Angel's vampire name Angelus, similar to the city of Los Angeles. The remainder of the series, the pronunciation Angelus is more often used. Buffy turning her head when Big Ugly says, "Spike, give me a hand," and turning her head when Spike starts clapping her the same exact shot used twice. And now let's take a look at some pop culture references. Spike mentions having attended the music festival Woodstock. Willow wears a Scooby-Doo shirt at the PTA night. Giles comments that the name Spike is a little unorthodox for a vampire, to which Buffy replies, "Maybe he's reformed," a wordplay on Judaism branches. Spike calls Angel an Uncle Tom, a term that refers to a black person who is overly submissive toward a white person. Spike compares Angel's role with the fictional character of Yoda, in reference to providing guidance and training. And finally, let's take a look at some goofs. When Buffy, Willow, and Xander leave the table to dance, it's loaded with school books and homework. When Xander returns for a steak, the table contains only Buffy's purse. Interesting. So overall, I think this episode is pretty good, and the fact that this episode gave us both Spike and Drusilla, I think that's a plus in my book. So yeah. So overall, I give School Hard 4 vampire steaks out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in tomorrow as we take a look at the next episode, Inca Mummy Girl. So until then, Here endeth the lesson.